Hello and welcome to another episode of Bare Bones Wargaming, a show with no bells, no whistles, no frills, just a man, a camera, and his game. On this episode, I am going back to an oldie but a goodie, a game that is being reprinted by GMT Games next year sometime. That's the scuttlebutt anyway, and that is the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, originally published by Victory Games in 1991, and designed by the one, the only, Judd Vance, if you're listening, please have a seat, Mark Herman. Right? Now, this game is interesting because this game was purposely designed to be solitaire. It has a unique mechanism to it. So it's always had kind of an interesting... what's the word I want? Kind of an interesting place in the wargaming history, development, and such, because it's one where you actually switch sides potentially, and we'll see if that actually happens here at the end of this example of play. Now, as you can see from the map here, it's pretty Spartan, no pun intended, right? But it is pretty Spartan. As you can see, there's a lot of map and a lot of spaces on the map, but not a whole lot of people hanging around. Okay? Alright, units are expressed in terms of strength points, and you basically have, from the Athenian perspective, you have Athenian hoplites, Athenian cavalry, and allied hoplites and cavalry, and then you also have ships that are also allied and cavalry, or allied and Athenian as well, too. Right? So, you also have leaders as well, and the leaders in the game, as you can see here, by the way, that big green die, this is something I recommend to anybody who's a major solo wargamer like me. Have some kind of device, because, you know, the phone rings, kids wake up from their naps in my case. You want to remember where you were, so have something that sticks out. Something where you don't have to come back and be like, oh gosh, was I working on this step? Was I working on that? Because the die works great to mark on the map. It also works great to put it as a straight edge, like on a step if you're on a sequence of play. So I highly recommend that, because I already know right now that I am ready to launch the first Athenian operation of this turn. That is where I'm at. Okay. And again, speaking of the Athenians and speaking of leaders, as you can see, I got old Alcibiades there, and if you know anything about the Peloponnesian War, you know why I just said that way. Leaders have ratings, tactical and strategic, and we'll talk about how those fit into the game here in a little bit. Okay. Spaces in the game can either be a coastal space, a land space, or an island space, and movement points in between. As you can see, it's a point-to-point map there. Movement can be either naval, land, or combined. You can go either way on that. Okay. Now, both sides, before we get rolling here, both sides in this game have a strategy matrix. Again, this is something that's a little different about this game and makes it a little unique. Here you can see there's the strategy matrix for Sparta, because as the player you begin the game as the Athenians. So I'm getting ready here on turn 2 to try and see if I can beat down the Spartans into submission. However, the harder you beat on the one side, if you don't crush them completely, you will quickly find yourself flipping over to the other side, and you know, all of a sudden you're the Spartans that are down for the count up against the ropes, and now you come back out with your shield and sword and kick some butt, so to speak. So you can see here the strategy matrix right here. I've got it set up now for, we're going to be attacking Athens this next time, but there's other things too: cause rebellion, cut lines of communications, and attack an Athenian ally. Now, strictly speaking, the game is supposed to begin with the Spartans attacking Athens, but one of my tweets to the game that I feel, and again, this is just, you know, my opinion, your mileage may vary, but I feel it makes it more interesting and increases the replayability, is I always start off with a random Spartan one. So for the first turn, they were actually trying to cause some rebellions in the Delian League, in the Empire, if you will. Okay? And part of the reason I like to do that is I like to play with history. That's my primary reason for doing war games. If I want to know what happened and why, and if I want somebody to analyze it and stuff, then I usually will use a book. Not to say the games can't teach you anything, because I've learned a lot of things from playing war games too, but I primarily play them to play with history. So again, to start the game with a different strategy that obviously is feasible, otherwise it wouldn't be on the strategy matrix, I think is completely reasonable. Speaking of which, part of the reason I do that is because I'm very interested in one of my big things I did with my master's degree was focus on decision-making theory. And since at least one of my viewers has mentioned before about they like the books I thought I'd mention a couple here because, again, the reason I'm choosing a different one randomly has to do with a couple of different things. One of them is this book. If you're into decision-making theory, you must get this book. I don't know which edition it's on. This is the second edition. But this book basically breaks down the Cuban Missile Crisis using 3 different decision-making models. The one we usually think of, the rational actor model, which is like the leader, Kennedy, Khrushchev kind of thing. And then there's the one about output from different organizations, like what your military is capable of, what your military tells you they're capable of, and then also as a result of government interplay, like who sits where in the action channel, who has whose ear, which kind of works out very well. So that one there is a good one. And another one to look at, and this is a harder one to find, but I really enjoyed this book. Hopefully you can see the edge there. It's Nasser and Sadat. I'll open the first page. This took me some while to track down, but this is fascinating because this also looks at the perspective of the operational environment. Now, usually we talk about somebody's perspective, which is one thing, but to know their operational environment, which is kind of the sum of all their experiences or how much something's impacted them, can be critical. And this book does a great job doing that and then analyzing both Nasser and Sadat, who were very different and interesting leaders of Egypt. What I mean by that is, for example, like with Khrushchev, part of the reason Khrushchev did not respect Kennedy and thought he could push him around was because Kennedy reminded Khrushchev of his oldest son, who was a womanizer and a drunk, and that kind of thing. So he really didn't respect him for those reasons. That kind of operational environment, knowing that piece of information really colors things. And of course, knowing Khrushchev's background, how he grew up, also explains a lot to, why he was so big on prestige and getting respect. And just one last thing here, this is also a very interesting thing too. This is even harder to track down, but Amazon I think is where I found this. But this is just all about, foreign policy making, decision making theory. It's a great thing to have. And one last thing is, if you're interested in the Peloponnesian War, there is a chapter in this book, which is a fantastic book, on the origins of war and the preservation of peace by Kagan. Kagan is the authority, as far as I know still is, on the Peloponnesian War, but he also does other wars in this book, Peloponnesian War, Second Punic War, WW1, WW2, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, a near war. But he also did a 3-volume history, as well as a condensed 1-volume history on the Peloponnesian War. So all of that by way of saying that that's why I choose random strategies, because again, it kind of simulates that what if in history. Well, what if the action channel had been different? What if this person had the leader's ear? What if the military had said this was capable? Etc., etc., etc. So, alright. So basically, to start the game here, as Athens, I pounded on the Spartans pretty hard. Now, in the game, you have your bellicosity track. If your bellicosity reaches 0, thanks for playing, you're done. Right now, Sparta's is at 5, Athens is at 10. We'll talk about how and why to raise that and lower it here in a little bit. Okay, but the Spartans have gotten a bit lucky here with the random events phase, which I hope to do an entire turn swinging back around to the beginning of a turn, because I'm picking up with the operations segment here with y'all. And if you look way up here by the Black Sea, you can see there's 2 rebellion markers there. One on Byzantium and Olynthian, I think is the other city. This is important because that is critical to Athens, because that's where their food is coming from. Those fertile regions in the Black Sea area, what of course today would be Ukraine, which of course was called the breadbasket of the Soviet Union for a reason. So as Athens, I got to get my butt up there and crush those rebellions PDQ. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on right now. Sparta took a beating, but again, if I don't completely crush them this turn, which sometimes happens, sometimes this game ends very quickly with my tweaks, sometimes it doesn't. And again, I'm fine with that because I want the experience myself. Not everybody likes doing little tweaks to systems and stuff because they feel it unbalances and things, but I'm not one of those folks. So let's go ahead and let's get started here. And enough talking, time to play. All right, so operations segment. So the first operations for both sides is always automatic. After that, it becomes an auguries die roll. Okay, because of course very much into the polytheistic religions and stuff, the gods angering them, things like that, the signs. If you know anything about ancient Greece and Rome, they both were very big on that. So I'm starting here with Alcibiades, okay, in Athens. Now, when you want to do an operation in this game, you basically, first of all, you need to pick an objective. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back up here where I showed you guys here a little bit ago. I'm going up here because I got to crush these rebellions. If I don't crush these rebellions, I'm not going to be able to get the supply line open, which means Athens is not going to get anywhere near the amount of money it should when it comes time to collect revenue. Okay, so a leader can then activate units that he's with. You can also pick up units as you go, and then you're going to trace a path through there to get to your destination. Okay, and there's a cost for that, naturally enough. All right, so let's start with that. So I'm going to go ahead with my first Athenian operation, and with old Alcibiades here, I'm going to go ahead and I want to make sure that this gets smashed. But to smash it, I really only need an Athenian fleet, but just in case the Spartans, which of course the Spartans would not have been very big about the water, but just in case they do happen to show up by some miracle here, I'm going to go ahead and take 2 fleets with me and travel my way up to Byzantium. Now, each fleet costs you 400 talents to activate. Hoplites and cavalry cost you 200 apiece. So 2 fleets, that's 800. So I'm going to go over here to my Athenian treasury, which is off camera to the right, and subtract 800 off. That will take me down to 4,600. All right, and now I just start moving my leader along here. Okay, so again, in the game, you're basically supposed to take the shortest path, because then there's a potential for interceptions and stuff, which if you played other war games, like Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage, you're used to that idea. Or like some other card-driven games like Washington's War and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is here, I'm going to go ahead and just basically sail the shortest route, so you can kind of see me tracing here. I'll go up through here, past Lesbos, up through here, all the way up to Byzantium with old Alcibiades. Boom! And I will work on trying to crush that rebellion, because there can be no rebellions, period. Okay, now, the Spartans, of course, have their strategy matrix. So let's take a look at that here first, so you can see how this works once I get the camera in the right spot. All right, let's zoom in. I gotta move it. Okay, I had it in the right spot the first time. What do you know? Okay, so as you can see here, all right, you're gonna be doing some die rolling. Okay, now the force here, of course, tells you what you're supposed to build, okay? How many hoplites, how many cavalry, that kind of thing. Now, typically, again, this is just my own tweak. Sometimes I take less forces than what's listed there, depending on how many enemy units are at the objective. Because if you take the full force that you're supposed to take, you'll quickly find yourself running out of troops that you can use. And of course, if you can't run troops, then the other side cannot do any combat, any sieges, and if you can't do that, you can't reduce the enemy's bellicosity and increase your own, which means, of course, you can end the game very quickly. So, and with all that being said, I'll be curious to see what changes are made to the new edition that's going to be out from GMT Games. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to find out where we're going. So we're going to roll a die. So where are the Spartans headed to? Okay, so the Spartans are headed to Declia. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I may not be pronouncing some of these correctly. Okay, so with that specific city, now the Spartans are going to be heading there. So now we're going to need to find it on the map. Ah, I see it right here. By the way, if you have trouble, one of the things I really like about this game, if you're not very well versed in ancient Greek history, I mean, I'm pretty decent. I used to teach it. But one nice thing about this game is if you're not well versed, then you can go ahead and there's this nice Peloponnesian Gazetteer, which gives you a listing of all the spaces on the map and gives you a nice little grid coordinates, like Patmos here is 7D, so you can find it quickly. So very cool. Okay, so here is Declia. Okay, now I already have the Spartan leader because you draw leaders at the beginning of the operation segments. Subsequent leaders will, of course, be drawn subsequently, so to speak. That's maybe too redundant, but anyway. So, I'm supposed to technically take a force of 12 hoplites and 2 cavalry. So this is pretty close to Athens, to be honest. So what I think I will do is, I think I will go ahead, and let me zoom in here a little bit, so we can kind of focus on the spaces. There we go. Traveling from Sparta upwards. Okay? So I think I will take most of that force I need. Okay? Now I could go around and pick people up, and I might go up here to Thebes and pick up some allied units too. Because again, you can move as much as you want basically in the game, because every turn is a 3-year, every game turn is 3 years of actual time. So there's, you know, enough time, so to speak, to do all these things that you want or need to do. Okay, so let me go ahead. I will go ahead and take the Spartan army that's here, but I'll leave the home guard behind because I have to. Okay, and I will take the 1 Spartan cavalry. Now with Spartans, you don't have to activate them. Let me double check the cavalry. I know you don't have to activate the Spartan. Yeah, Spartan hoplites and cavalry do not have an activation cost because that was just part of their society. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to travel along through here. And I would like to pick up that other cavalry unit and maybe a few more allied infantry, just in case the Athenians come after me. So let's go ahead, and we're going to avoid Argos because they're neutral, and that gets to be a mess if you go through them. So we're going to go up through here. Okay, and let's see, what do we got here? Ah, there's some Athenian infantry in Corinth. As you can see, in the first turn I took Corinth over as the Athenians. I always like to knock Corinth out right away because that's Sparta's basically their best ally. So when you move through a space, all units have what's called a zone of influence. Now, naval units can go out 2 spaces in any direction, of course not a land space for obvious reasons, and cavalry can go 1 in any direction, and then of course infantry also can go, or also infantry is only in the space that they are occupying in here. So let's see again, are there any cavalry here? I don't think I brought any cavalry. No, so I can slip through here. Now I could move straight up through 1, 2, but I also could go this way 1, 2, and it's going to take me to basically the same spot. Now again, you're supposed to go the shortest distance here, but I'm going to go ahead and avoid the Athenians there because I want to keep this army together and I want to kind of capture this city if I can. Okay, so we'll go up through here. We'll go through Megara. Okay, now we'll go through Panactum. Now Panactum, of course, the Athenians, do they have a cavalry? Yes, they do. They have 1 cavalry. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's do a skirmish here as I try to go through this space. Alright. First thing I gotta do is the Athenians and see if I intercept. Now interception is pretty simple. You roll a 6-sided die. 1 through 3, no dice. 4 through 6, yep, you intercepted. And I rolled a 3. So of course that means the Athenians did not intercept. Okay? So I can keep moving as the Spartans. Now, every time you move within range of enemy forces, even the space that you're moving into, which again our objective space is right here. Let's see if we can, oh, it's not on camera, but it's just to the east of our position here on the other side of Athens, then you can go ahead and do it multiple times. There's no limit on the number of interceptions. Okay, so I'm going to march up through here. Now when you go through an enemy space, like I'm going here with Panactus, you can go ahead and, well, you will go ahead, I should say, you will go ahead and ravage it. Now ravaging a space is important for later on in terms of bellicosity and also in terms of money. Okay, so we'll go up through here. We'll go, let me back up here a little bit so you can see everything's happening. We'll go up here to Thebes. I will go ahead and I will pick up, oh, let's see, what do I have here? I have 5 hoplites and 1 cavalry. So I'll go ahead and pick up 3 more hoplites here. That'll give me 8 of the 12. And then I'll go ahead and pick up 1 allied cavalry. Let's see if I can find just 1. There's just 1. Okay. So that's 4 times 2. That's 800 I'm going to have to spend out of the treasury. And then we'll march our way down here to the mission spot here. So let me deduct my 800. Alright. So down it goes. Out of your treasury. Okay. And now I'm going to go down through here, which will allow me to ravage that space. And then after I ravage that space, I will move on the objective. Now notice, the objective space is here next to Athens and is connected, and there is Athenian cavalry, so again, they will have a chance to intercept me before I reach this city. So let's see if there's any interception this time. No, it's a 1, so still no interception is done, and that operation is over. Okay? Now, every subsequent operation begins with a die roll. So let's see here now what I can do with the Athenians. Now, as the player, if you roll a 6, guess what? The omens and signs are bad. The turn is over. And as the non-player, it's a 5 or 6. Okay, so let's see what I roll. I have rolled a 3. Okay, so I can do another operation. Alright, let's see who I pull here. Okay. I pull Nicias. Yeesh. Okay, so Nicias does not have a very good tactical rating. No, he doesn't have a good one at all. The top number is a tactical rating. He's a 0. Strategic rating is the bottom rating. That basically is a rating that lets you know or impacts whether your forces are going to stay put after their long trek. Okay? So what should I do with Nicias? I don't want to go out and challenge that Spartan army, because if I go challenge with that, we'll get our dupas kicked. So I'm not going to do that. Getting past Thebes is going to be a bit of a problem. So maybe what I should do with Nicias, because I don't want to pass. If I pass, my turn's over, and like I said, I've got Sparta down to a 5 on bellicosity, so I want to try and drive them to 0 and win this thing and end it if I can. Because I don't want the Persians taking advantage, which is pretty much what happened after the Peloponnesian War. Well, technically after the Peloponnesian War, when both sides were worn out and Athens lost, then Thebes became the dominant city-state, and then, of course, along came the Persians getting involved, and then Alexander, of course, with the Persians encroaching, Alexander showed up. So, yeah. I don't want to give the wrong impression. The Persians didn't conquer Greece or anything, but they were really starting to flex their muscles, and, they were really looking at Greece and licking their chops. Okay, all that said, let me go ahead and just take Nicias and show you again how the game works. I'm going to kind of keep it simple here. We're going to KISS, as one of my teachers used to say, keep it simple, stupid. And I'm going to go ahead and move over here to Megara and just lay siege to it, which, by the way, if you know anything about the history of the Peloponnesian War, this is what started it all, was a trade dispute between Megara and, the Athenian city eludes me. So, I'm going to take Nicias, and I'm going to activate. And I'm just going to take 2 Athenian hoplites, so that's 400 talents that I'm going to be spending. And I will march past Panactum, and I'll go down here to Megara, and I will stop and deduct my 400 from the treasury. Okay, on to the Spartans. So let's drop the camera down here and over. Let's see what the Spartans are up to. Are they up to anything? Survey says no. So bad news for the Spartans. It's a 5. So the Spartans are staying home. Woohoo! Lucky me. Alright. Now, as the Athenians, I can go ahead and roll again. Alright, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. Exact polar opposite of a whammy. It's a 1. Alright. So, once again, I will reach into the almighty cup and see what I get. I get a leader. Whoops. That's a little bit better than Nicias, but what I really would like is a leader with a +2 tactical rating to go over there and teach those Spartans a lesson. I really don't want to risk a battle without at least a +2 tactical rating, because that's just risky business. Dun, 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 dun. Let's see. So you know what? I won't. But you know what I will do? I am going to, let me pull the camera out here a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and target Selene over here on the western coast of the Peloponnesus. Okay? The reason I'm going to do that is, as I sail through here, I can ravage all these spaces. And by ravaging all those spaces, I can go ahead and basically hurt the Spartans. So they've kind of given me a chance here. So that's what I'm going to do. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and move them out. And I'm just going to go down here. I don't need much. I just need, whoops, my My Athenian leader got flipped there. I just need a couple of... Actually, I only really need one naval unit. But you know what? I'll just activate the 2. Okay? And I'm going to go ahead and sail from here to here. So I'm going to go ahead and sail down all through here. Down through the Peloponnesus like this. Am I getting all that? Pretty close. There we go. And then I'm going to come up this way. And again, now we're going to count spaces. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So I can go this way. Perfect, as Eartha Kitt would say. And I stop there. Now there was nobody to intercept me. Nobody to harass me. Now why I did that again is because now, man, I just went wild as I sailed all through there. I ravaged all the spaces. Okay? Or to paraphrase Steve Martin in My Blue Heaven, when he tells is it Carol Kane maybe? I think it might be Carol Kane, about not being in the frozen food section, and she's like, why? Because you could melt all this stuff. That's what I just did. I just melted the Spartans. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the Spartans had a boat down there. They built, that's right, since they couldn't build in Corinth. Oh, gotta slam on the brakes. So let me come back down here. My fault. I completely forgot about these guys down here. Alright. So, these are all going to be ravaged. Okay. But again, 1, 2 spaces away. Okay. And this is a combined one. So this will count. And so is that. So now, the Spartans... Oh, I should have maybe taken more than 2. Ooh, this might be a big mistake on my part. So the Spartans can attempt to intercept. So let's see if they do. Yes, they do. It is a 6. Now, for this successful interception, you roll 2 dice. If a 1 is rolled, then the side that rolled the 1 loses a strength point. So I just lost one of my boats. Uh-oh, this could get ugly here in a second. And now, to see whether there's a battle or not, you do the following procedure. First of all, if the combined die roll total is 11 or greater, there is a battle. Well, as you can see there, it's only 4. So now see, okay, the combined total of forces is 8 or greater. Well, it's not. The Spartans have 3, and I only have 1 now. Okay, so there will not be a fight, because if the total is 8 or greater, and the intercepting force is at least 15% of the moving force, then there will be a battle. But as it was, there was just a little skirmish, and basically what happens there is I lost a boat in the course of that skirmishing, and the Spartans basically tweaked me here a little bit. But this could get ugly here, because again, they can intercept when I move to the next space. So here we go again. Not to sound like Whitesnake, but it's true. So once again, let's see if the Spartans can intercept, because it's 2 spaces away. No, not this time. It was a 3, so now we move on. Down to here, and I will ravage that space, because I've left it behind. As you move through a space, you ravage them. So, glad I caught that, though. That would have been a major gaffe here. Ah, it is a 5, so once again, we have a potential interception here. But we do have an interception, so we have potential battle. Not likely. Okay, this time it's a 5 and a 4. So again, it's not an 11. Nobody rolled a 1, so nobody loses anything. And it's not 50% of 8, because again, we only have 4. So we continue. So now I'm going to sail into here. I guess I could have used the Commodores too, right? Sail on! So let's see if they intercept. No interception. There's a 2. So now I ravage that space, and I sail on, giving the Spartans one last chance to try and catch me. Okay? Now, leaders are never removed from the game, by the way, if you're wondering what would happen if I lose that last strength point. The leader will still be there. Oh, it's another 2. So, the Spartans were unable to stop me. So the bottom line is, I still get to where I wanted to go, and I still will be able to lay siege to that space, which we'll get to here once we quit moving everybody around. However, if I had rolled another 1, that could have been a very sticky situation. So here we go. Ravage. Ravage. Now I got friends here, so we won't ravage that space, and we'll stop there. But I need one more ravage marker for up here. Okay. So, I'm all done with my operation. Now again, the Spartans have passed because they failed the augury die roll. Now of course, I don't have to attack these Spartans over here. I could just let this go if I wanted. It's up to me. If you're the non-player, though, has a defensive measure which overrides the strategy matrix. So if any one of the conditions happens, and each one has their own conditions on them, then you would do the defensive strategy for them in lieu of whatever it is. Like, for example, Sparta attack Athens, you would do something else. Okay, I rolled a 3, so I can do another operation. Let's see if I get a good, strong tactical leader, then I can show you a good battle. Wow, look at that. You see that? That flew right out. This guy must want to play. Oh, perfect. Look at that. Look at that. Demosthenes. He's got +2. So, he wants to play. Good, because I do want to play. Alright, so what I'll do then for the purposes of this video is I'll basically force a big battle here. Okay? Now, Athens doesn't have a whole lot of troops. Okay? I could go up here to Larissa, which is probably off camera right now. So let me pull back. I could try to slip by and get past Thebes and go up here to Larissa and pick up some cavalry, and I might do that. So let me go ahead here in Athens, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up 1 hoplite and 1 cavalry to get rolling here. So that'll cost me 400 from my treasury. Okay, I'm going to march west here, and I'm going to go ahead and stop at Corinth because I want to pick up some hoplite infantry because there's not a whole lot of hoplite infantry hanging around. So we'll go here into Corinth. Is my big arm in the way? Probably is. And let's see. Actually, there's Athenian infantry there. I'll pick up another 2 Athenian infantry. That's another 400. So 8 minus 4 is 4. Okay, I got a pretty sizable force now. So I could try to slip past Thebes. Okay, because Thebes does have 3 cavalry that could try to intercept me. That's fine. I'll go ahead and march back. I'm going to go back this way and go to Larissa to try and pick up some cavalry there. Now, I could just go over there to Decelea because you are supposed to follow the shortest route. But again, I give myself some flexibility on this because it's 3 years of time, and if I was building an army, I'd spend the time to go ahead and, you know, gather up whatever forces I can. So again, strictly speaking, I should have just been able, not probably, but I should have just taken units from Athens and went after them. Okay. However, if you're doing the non-player one, if you're trying to pick up enough strength points to do it, then of course it can be a little more of a circuitous route. So, you know, it's kind of a... I'll be curious to see how this is resolved in the new edition of the game. Because to me, this is a little bit of an ambiguity here. It's just a little bit of an ambiguity. I'll just leave it at that and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and try to march past Thebes over here. So let me get some ravage markers out here because I'm going to need some. So I march past Thebes and I'm going to march back down. So I'll go ahead and I'll march from here to here. And I'm going to march into Chaeronea. And of course now we'll see whether those Theban cavalry will intercept me or not. Because they're 1 space away. It is a 6, so we do have a skirmish with a potential battle coming. Oh, well, what do you know? Okay, so let me go ahead and put everybody on the board here. And let's zoom in. Because we are about to have our first battle. Okay, so nobody rolled a 1, but we did roll a total of 11. So we're going to have a land battle here. Okay, so whoops, just rocked the Theban's world. So these 3 Theban cavalry are going to come out and fight with my Athenian force here, which consists of, let's see, 3 hoplites and 1 cavalry. Okay, so now we'll consult and roll dice and see here with a land battle what modifiers we have to conduct this battle here. Okay, and most of the rules in this game are pretty straightforward. Once you wrap your head around the strategy matrix, the game is pretty easy to go with, so to speak. Okay, so I'm going to roll the dice first. Yikes. That was not a good roll for Athens. So let's see what happens here. Okay. Alright, so let's take a look at these modifiers. Okay. Add the side's leader's tactical rating. Okay, so he has a 2, so that makes it a 3, so it's even right now. If one side has more cavalry, well, the Thebans do, 3 to 1. So add 1 to their roll. So now it's 4 to 3 in favor of the Thebans. If one side has more hoplite strength points than the other, add 1 to that side rolls for each strength point of difference. So actually I have 3. So now, instead of being 4 to 3, it's now 6 to 4 in favor of the Athenians. Okay, 50% Spartan hoplites? Nope. Okay, and the battle's not taking place in Sparta. Okay, so in the end, with all those modifiers, Athens had an advantage of 6 to 4. Okay, so the battle's not a draw. Okay, winner, that's me, the Athenians, loses no strength points. I stay there. The loser is going to lose number of strength points equal to the difference, which is a 2. Okay, 6 minus 4. Okay. And then reduces those losses by 1 for each cavalry strength point the loser has in excess of the number of cavalry on the winning side. Oh, well, guess what? They're basically not going to lose the cavalry because they have 2 extra cavalry, so that would reduce it. So basically, Thebes is losing nothing here now either. Okay? Let's see. Surviving strength points on the losing side are placed in the going home box. Now, the going home box is elsewhere on the map, and that's not resolved until after combat. So the good news for me is they're basically out of the picture until next turn. Okay? Alright. So the winner stays put, and I increase my strategy confidence index by 1, and the Spartans reduce theirs by 1. Now the strategy confidence basically measures the progress of the war during that particular turn. So this is good because, again, they're already at 5, Sparta is, so now they're going to be subtracting 1 unless they can change their fortunes at the end of this turn. Okay? So, back to the big picture. So I'm going to march up here now to Larissa. Now if you move through neutral spaces other than Syracuse and Argos, it's not really any big deal, but I'm going to go through Heraclea here. So I'm going to go ahead and ravage that space, naturally enough. And I'm going to march up to Larissa and pick up some cavalry. So here we go. Here, you don't ravage neutral spaces when you go through them. Okay? Because obviously, why get somebody all wound up that's not actually in the war? That makes sense. Alright, so let's see. There's a lot of cavalry up here. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take 5 cavalry here because I want to try and nullify the Spartan advantage in hoplites. So 5 times 2, of course, is 1,000. That's a lot of talents, but that's okay. I can do it. But that drains my treasury pretty badly. Okay, and now I'll basically come back down through the way that I did before, but when I come down through this time, I'm going to go ahead and, actually, you know what? I might have to go this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I have to go this way. So I'm going to have to come down this coast. Okay, so none ravaging there. Go through the space here. Go down through there. And now I will... Well, the Spartans can try to intercept because I'm pretty sure, yes, they have cavalry. So we're going to stop here and see if they intercept us and see if they force a battle or not. So we'll have a little skirmish. Yes, we will. It's a 6, so we are going to have a little skirmish. Let's see if it boils over into anything. Well, bad news on the skirmish front. I lost a strength point. Alright, let me lose... I'll lose the 1 cavalry strength point. That is one bad thing about this game is there are half-inch counters, and I've gotten to the point being older and with big hands. I wear a size 16 ring. It's just sometimes very annoying. Yeah, I know all about tweezers, but tweezers are even worse because I'm not a very good precision person when it comes to... Oh, look at this. Patience, patience, patience. Being in the moment. Stacking them up. Alright. So, I lost 1 strength point. Now, the total was not 11, as you can see, it was only 3. But let's total up our strength points. There's got to be more than 8. Easy. So 2, 4, 5. Did you hear it? It hit the floor. And let's see. 9. So I have 9 strength points for the Athenians. So we're clearly going to make more than 8. The Spartans have more than 50% either, because there's 4. So we're going to have ourselves a battle to the north of Declea. So let's see what's going to happen here in this fight here between these two. Okay, so I'm going to set it up down here at the bottom so we can see it a little easier, since this is such a big fight. And I'll mark it so we know where we're fighting on the map. There they went again. What is with you guys? You guys like trying to run from the Spartans? Is that what this is? You don't want to confront the Spartans? You're not looking forward to this concept? Fine, fine, fine. I get that at least. I don't know if I want to be facing the Spartans either. Okay. So again, my big red block here will mark where the battle's at. Alright. So let's go down here. We'll zoom in a little bit. Whoops, wrong direction. There we go. Alright, so let's do our land battle here again. We'll roll our dice. Let's see what each side gets. Ooh, this is not going to end well. No. No, it's not going to end well at all. Yikes. Okay, so we're adding in the value. Let's just do the Spartans all together at first. So 6 and 1, that's 7. Okay. More cavalry. Well, the Spartans don't have more cavalry, so I don't have to worry about that. Okay. Hoplite strength. They have a value of 8 hoplite versus my 4. So that's plus 4. So now we're 7. 4 is 11. But this one goes to 11. 50% hoplites. Spartan ones, yes. 5 of the 8. So now we've gone from 11 to 13. So the grand total for the Spartans is 13. This is not going to end well. The Athenians. Well, I got plus 2 for my tactical, so that's good. That's a 5. I do have more cavalry. Yay, but that only gives me plus 1, so that's a 6. I don't have more hoplites. So, 13 minus 6 is 7. Whoo, but remember the difference here. They only have 2 cavalry. I have 2, 4, I have 6. So that's a difference of 4. So I will end up losing 3 in the end. So I have to lose 3 strength points, my choice. I'll go ahead and lose these cavalry guys. I'll go ahead and get rid of them. So that did not go very well at all. Okay. Now, the bad news for me is I'm not going to be able to relieve the city. Because remember, when you lose, you have to go home. So we go to the going home box. And now that leader's out of play. And I just put them in the going home box too. The Spartans, of course, are victorious. So they will go back and be able to lay siege to the city, which is what they were originally planning to do. Okay. Athens' strategy confidence goes down by 1 to 0. The Spartans goes up by 1 from -1 to 0 also. So we're back in an even keel as far as that is concerned. So that was about as smart as going to Sicily. Well, that did not end very well at all, did it? No. Alright. So, let's see if I get another operation or not. But after that beating, I may be done. If I can keep... See, look at that. There they go again. I'm assuming that was a drunken revelry slide, more than likely. Alright. Okay, it's a 1, so I could go again. But you know what? I'm going to go ahead and pass, because I've dropped the Athenian treasury down quite a bit, and you can't drop it below a certain level. So let's go ahead and let's move on for the purposes of this video, because I don't want this to be too long. Let's go on to the combat phase. So the first thing we got to do is figure out if we have any sieges. Basically, you have a siege on any place that is a fortress space, like where the Spartans are here, and there's nobody home. If there are enemy strength points there, then you have to have 4 or more to do a siege. Okay, so the Spartans have a siege over here as they try to capture this city. And Athens will have 2 sieges, one at Megara, and then one, the adventurous little sailing one we had. But let me back up here. There we go. Whoops, sorry about that. Earthquake! That's a bad omen. That's probably why everybody quit. And we got a siege there. Now the guys up by the Black Sea, if you remember them from earlier in this turn, we'll deal with them in a little bit. They're dealing with a rebellion. That's a little different animal as far as crushing a rebellion goes. Alright. So, now we look to see if there's any battles. Well, there's not going to be any battles because we don't have 2 forces in the same space that will end up fighting each other. Alright. Although we had plenty of battles prior to this. So sieges are pretty simple. Let's just do the Spartan one here. All you do is you roll a die and add the tactical rating of your leader, which for the Spartans is a 1. If it's 4 or better, congratulations, your siege is successful. 3 or less, thanks for playing. Here I rolled a 5 for the Spartans combined with 1. So now that's a 6, so they clearly were successful. Okay. Now with a successful siege, you're going to end up ravaging the space, not surprisingly. Okay. Athens' strategy confidence goes down by 1 to -1. Sparta's goes up to +1. And Sparta gets to add 100 talents to the treasury from all the people they sold into slavery and did all that kind of stuff. So, good for the Spartans, bad for Athens. Alright, let's check out over here. Megara. Ooh, I rolled a 1. Oh, no. And Nicaea, of course, has no tactical reading whatsoever, so I failed. Now, if it fails, the failing side, their strategy confidence goes down by 1, so we go down to -2. But the opposing side doesn't get a boost from that. It's just a -1 there. And, as well, if it fails, okay, you take the army and send it to the going home box. So they're going home. Bye-bye. And again, because of course the siege was there and everything was, dug up, the land was basically completely devastated to feed the besieging army. You do place a ravage marker there. Where we go? There we go. Okay. So this turn's not going very well for Athens. Let's check out the other siege one here. 5. Well, this one's much better. Because it's automatically going to succeed. There's only 1 negative tactical rating, I think, in the entire game. Okay, so Spartan index goes down by 1 to 0. Athens' strategic confidence goes up to -1. And we get $100. 100 talents, to use the correct term. Alright, so we got our sieges done. Okay. Now, going home segment. Now, the going home segment deals with the going home box here. Okay, so forces that are on the map with leaders, you're going to roll a die for each force that's there and see if they're going to be sticking around or whether they're going to end up going home. So let's start up here by the Black Sea. A strategy rating is a 2. You add that to the die roll, which was a 4. 4 and 2 is 6. So if it's 6 or better, the whole force stays put. They don't go anywhere. Okay? So those guys are going to hang out up there and be in place to deal with that rebellion up there because I need to get that out of the way. Okay? The only other Athenian force I have is over here. They have a +1 for their strategy. Once they roll a 6. So again, the leader will leave. And that force will stay put on the map. Let's do the Spartans now. Now the Spartans also have +1. They rolled a 2, so that's only a 3. Okay, so we remove the leader from the map. And we leave 1 strength point behind. That's it. Just 1 when we're going home. Okay? Depending on whether it's a coastal space or a land space, or an island space. Now this one here is a land space, so we're going to leave 1 infantry unit behind. I'll have to make some change here. Hang on. So I'll go ahead and let it be a allied one. So let me make change. I'm making change music. Ah. Well, I guess that's the girl from Ipanema, isn't it? There it is. Alright, so those guys will go there. Those guys will stay in that space there. Okay. Alrighty. So that's that. Now, in the going home box, what I like to do is organize everybody by types, because basically what you're going to do is, based on the type of strength point it is, whether it's Allied or Spartan or Athenian, that's going to tell you where they are going to go home. Okay? Now, how do you know where they're going? Got this lovely chart here, well organized. Okay, there is some stuff here that's not actually in the rule book, so make sure you read this carefully about certain things. But as you can see here, like hoplite Athenians, they're going to Athens. Okay, so I've got a bunch of Athenian hoplites here. They're all going home to the Athenian space, so they'll be ready for the next 3 years period of the war. Okay, I don't have any Athenian allies. Spartans, well, they go to Sparta. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer. Now, Spartan ally, 50% to Corinth, 50% to Thebes. Well, Corinth is under Athenian control, so they'll have to all go to Thebes. And of course, if both spaces are wherever they're supposed to go, if it cannot be done so, then you move them next to a space next to the main protagonist, Athens or Sparta, if push comes to shove. Okay. Excuse me. And again, we'll just move everybody else here now. Athenian allied cavalry. Let's see, they all go to Larissa. If Macedonia is allied, which they are. Okay. And then Athenian cavalry, again, this is kind of an easy one that goes to Athens. Alright. Alright, Spartan allied cavalry all goes to Thebes. Okay. So Thebes, as you can see, is getting to be a serious spot there. And then Spartan cavalry, again, this is kind of an easy one. It goes to Sparta. Sparta! Sorry. Yeah, I've seen 300 a few times. It's fun. Not very good history, but it's fun. It certainly is fun. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so back to Sparta. Alright, so that's the going home segment here. Now, I know this is kind of running a little long, but I'm going to go ahead and try to push through and finish, because I do want to show you the rest of the phase here. Well, hold on a second. Let me look at this. There's actually quite a bit to do, and I don't want to rush it too much. Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what. So let's do this. We're up to the point now where we're going to be... hold on a second. I got to check the hostages thing. Land battle. SPs were lost. Were Athenian or Spartan hoplites? Well, we didn't lose anything. We're Athenian, so we don't have to worry about hostages. Alright. So, next part is the rebellion expansion phase. Okay. So, there's quite a bit still left to do before the end of this turn, including administrative phase and things like that. So what I'm going to do is, since this is kind of running a little long, because this does take a little while to play this game, I'm going to go ahead and stop here, and I will shoot another video and get it posted that will cover the rest of this turn, and then I'll show the beginning of turn 3 whenever you figure out the strategies and whether you flip sides and all of that stuff. Okay? So, we'll do that. So, this has been Tim Korchnoi, Athenian, for now. At least until next turn, where I may become a Spartan. But, Tim Korchnoi, Athenian, from Bare Bones Wargaming, saying thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time as we complete part 2 of this playthrough of the Peloponnesian War. Thanks for watching.